You're being force-fed Jay's big hammer. And let me tell you, this thing doesn't fit. This don't fit no matter where I put it. Vessel Vision. Endgame progression in 2024, a brutal reality check. Now, I recently made a hot take video that seemed to be pretty well received, and I'm interested in hearing what other people's perspectives are on this case scenario in Endgame. I'm interested in hearing what you guys also think as well. Vesso is, I would say, a veteran in this game as well. He is very PvP focus oriented, and I feel like he does a pretty good job trying to see the silver linings and things. But I imagine that his opinions will also come from his heart as well. So let's see what he's got to say.
I'm here to bring you a brutal reality check. There's been a lot of BDO gearing changes lately. So
Has there ever?
Break it down for some people that are kind of newer. They can expect what to see in the future. And I'm going to explain a little bit in the past. It all started with actually only plus 15. It all started with plus 15 weapons.
Yep.
And they were actually much like the Celeste battle hand. In fact, the Celeste was a weapon from the beginning of the game. It's from Caltheon. Originally, you just had plus 15 gear. You didn't have boss gear. They added boss gear right before they added Valencia. So plus 15, I believe, was the best era in the game. The reason being, you were just getting the plus 15, and it seemed like a horrendous deal, but it took like a week.
I really wasn't in the plus 15 phase. I started playing this game when Striker released. So Valencia was already in the game. Boss gear was already a thing, but people were pushing for Tet boss gear, in some cases pen, but and like tri accessories. That was the typical soft cap where people were making like 30 to 50 mil an hour. Like people making 100 mil an hour at that time was insane, unless you were getting like good drops in the hour as well. This was also in the old marketplace system when bidding was a thing.
Anytime you can get the max weapon, your max weapon in a week, you're good. Right? Like we hated it when it first came out, but it was wonderful. And then boss gear came out. Memory fragments were absolutely deplorable. I thought it was all over for me before I could even get plus 14 on my bags. And then someone had to point out, I don't even have plus 14 bags.
I felt like a demigod at that time too, with that disparity in gear.
Because it was like, man, this is so hard. I can't believe I'm spending billions of silver doing it. And then other people were like, I don't even have that. Do you have billions? You know, it felt good. But when they came out, pen was literally unobtainable. People were trying to get tets at first. Some of us got a couple tets the first day.
And that was what was special about pen back then. It was just like, that was the thing you were not supposed to get. The more realistic standard for a hard grinder or an everyday person as well was even just that tet or try, like not going past that. Pen was just seen as a power of God.
Guilty. I've always been geared up until a certain point. I'll mention when I stopped it. I've pretty much been close to hard capped most of this session, and I'm arguably close there now.
I would say so.
This is up into the Kama era. It was really nice. And then they came out with something called Caphras.
Chapter of Kama Sylvia. That was like the best opening and era and progression for me because I started in the boss gear era. And then Caphras with Kama Sylvia was such a fun release. Wonder what he's going to say.
But then they came out with Caphras. And originally they called Caphras Cron Energy. And it was their idea was you would just buy Cron stones and fail over and over again. But that felt too predatory. So they changed the name from Cron Energy. They called it Caphras. You were just going to get it after you used Cron stones. And then they were like, that would be pay to win. Wouldn't want to be too pay to win now, would we? Hence Caphras. I'm just going to throw this out there. Dregan was the worst expansion in the entire game.
Yes.
You guys think we're getting screwed on Land of the Morning Light? At least they're doing something. Dregan came out. There was nothing to do for an in-game player except for hope that a dragon was dropping you a Garmoth.
So true. Oh my God. I've only actually had one Garmoth drop ever in the entirety of playing this game. I still have been doing my 3 weekly and everything like that. I've had 2 Vels drops in the entirety of this game, and some people going years in this game without even receiving any, and also actively going. But Dregan was an empty canvas. It was like PA handing us a white piece of paper and just going, here you go, draw something, use your imagination. I don't know, there's nothing on this, there's nothing to do, but hey, if you draw some circles, I mean, there's some circles. Everyone likes you like circles, we all like circles. Circles are good.
Exactly.
Same look. Yep. Everyone shares the same opinion as you. For people who have been around at that time, may take the cake as the most lackluster region release ever. I think it would have been a bit more exciting had they come out with the potion pieces right away and the treasure items right away, that would have had something a bit more interesting to it. It still would have probably got shit on because there was just no, I think for us, it was like there was just the want of a challenge, the want of something new, the want of risk. VDO's done a good job offering risk and rewards in certain chapter releases, but Drigan was just nothing. There was no risk, there was no reward. It was just something to look at in the distance while you were still grinding the same spots.
No one else got it. So after the Caphras Garmoth era, then they initiated the newest part of where we're at. It seemed like a really good direction because it was a great catch-up mechanic. I still like the catch-up mechanic. Fallen God.
That was when Turos was a hot time too. That was the chapters of Odalita. That was a fun chapter. That was a fun territory when it first released. Had some underwhelmingness to it, but overall, I felt like Odalita was pretty solid.
Only level 10 Caphras, which is, I think, beautiful. The armor, not a bad step in the right direction. So I think this is probably one of their best steps in progression when you think about it. It helped everybody in game. It gave you minuscule stats to the higher ranked players. It made money for the investors, right? It made them money, right? Because people bought Cronstone. So when you think about it, Fallen God overall is probably some of their best gearing like that they'd ever done for Pearl Abyss.
I'd have to agree in terms of just like the progressionary hit of dopamine. It was absolutely a piece of content that had like hope behind it and something you looked forward to working on. It was a fun piece of gear. Fallen God and Libresca were probably the two only fun pieces of Fallen God armor. And then once getting the Silent Dawn gloves, that was a very underwhelming experience in my personal opinion. And then Aether shoes, honestly, I feel like it would have been more fun had there been more brackets that were caught up to this and caught up to the state of DP when people were progressing through the game. Now it's just like, I don't know what to tell you.
Now, after Fallen God came accuracy accessories. Fun fact about accuracy accessories is they were really powerful because people slept on evasion so long. Oh God, this hurts to see.
Evasion was a genuine problem, and I felt like accuracy being put into the game more through accessories as well as artifacts was a solution to that counter. It was a direct solution, and it started to make the evasion defensive statistic completely fall off in its own way. The only way it would start working is if you had a monstrous amount of evasion, and it still works only in that category, which is the very, very, very few.
These came out and people realized that you could kill people with a lot less AP if you actually hit them. And they were just so strong. You needed the accuracy at one point. So it was the Fallen God and accuracy accessory meta, and that was not that bad because there was building, there was counter. This is kind of the second golden age of BDO's gearing, and then now we're in what I call the dark ages. Today's brutal reality check. We're in the Debo arc, right?
Yep. Arguably the worst chapter of progression that this game has seen so far. For such a monstrous goal that requires such a caliber of effort, it offers so much nothing in return. It's just the most unexciting piece of gear to work towards. And you look at this and you know it. And I think the one thing that people want to see is that power creep and feel that power creep. And sadly, for such a tall goal, it just doesn't offer it in the way that people want to feel it, I think.
I was like, I'm not even going to get doubles. And I went from being top geared, the most geared person in the game, first person to make a yellow destruction resplendent stone, North America, that type of stuff, to I think you're a gearlet. Like that's how big ideal Debos were. Luckily, before the DR changes, there was so much like AP in general in the game that like Debos didn't change anything if you were a good player, and you could just get accuracy accessories for a little cheaper and you would bang out. Objectively, like I did not need these until a certain level of gearing.
You want my hot take on it? You only start working on Debos, in my opinion, when you have nothing left to do. I'm talking about the pen grade though. You're working on it just because. And me personally, I think just because isn't a good enough reason.
We're at that gearing, and then they added in, guess what? Boom, 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 the DR patch. Along with the DR patch, I'm going to couple in...
the thing that made evasion fall off even more, even though the accuracy that got added to the game was a good solution for that problem, but now they've just... It's almost like they just want to narrow it down to one stat. Like, there's no point in being evasion. That's why we see all the evasive accessories and things like that being at bottom price right now.
These are basically two AP brackets that you can only find on Debos. I think that they added one to Tungrad. It's minimal at best. Most of the time, it's better to have even Tet Debos over anything else, especially if you have one or more pin Debos. So now there is no more building.
We're so much further away from class identity, player specific identity. We're falling further and further away from role play in the sense of people playing specific roles. Everyone must build this way and be a DPS in its own way. On top of that, we have almost 30 champions in the game currently, and you can bet your ass that none of that shit's going to be balanced in the process. Even as being as imbalanced as it is, I would much prefer having some sort of class identity and hybrid options to allow that disparity in identity rather than this one track mind of thinking that I've talked about in the past. You're better off having even 3 accessories if you're going to go for the 3 set. It's either 3 accuracy, or it's going to be 5 devils, 1 accuracy, or 5 devils, 1 tayback. What I'm trying to say is there's not many options. It just falls away from that identity that I'm talking about.
Between the devos and DRH, that's where we're at now.
Yep.
And the fun thing about that is welcome to BDO Progression 2024. We get to the rest of the fun part of the video.
Ooh, that wasn't the fun part. I'm ready for the fun part.
Yo, BDO Progression 2024. Free Black Stars. Let's go. Seems like a good idea, right? Now think about this. I want you to think about the values that they're giving you.
And on top of that, the value in which they are giving you with the bar still not being raised. We are still in a chapter of BDO where Pen Black Star is a hard cap item in that slot. You have to do nothing for it. Not even through Jatina, through like get some materials and whatever, and it'll cost you only 50 bill and you can do it once or something like that. You know what I mean? Discounted Pen Black Star, can't sell in the market though. They just gave it to you. And the bar hasn't even been raised. Usually when they want to give you that type of thing, right, there's more stuff happening also in the background because that finish line has been pushed just a bit further. But none of that has happened, and they're giving, while you have already been running in the marathon, they've given everyone some fucking steroids since they're starting the race late.
If you're a decent player on a strong class, as soon as you get out of seasonal, what does that hint at? Go get your...
I think that's pushing it, but I absolutely see your point. I think it's a bit of an exaggeration, but he's, you know, at the same time, you're not wrong.
Devos, nerd.
Yep.
That's what they're saying.
There's still quite a few things to go for and still quite to work on and be able to be comfortable and cozy there. Not to mention like new players who don't understand this game, especially a fighting game, are going to still go through that hurdle. Nonetheless, we're getting people closer to the finish line through having to do nothing.
And as if they were trying to push you into getting your Folly God and everything ASAP so you could spend more Constones to tap. They're like, yeah, just finish your Folly God and seasonal. It's fun. They're trying to power jump you. They expect you, instead of...
Yeah. Believe me, man, everyone feels the same. Like that expression right there, this right here, that says 1,000 words.
Yeah. Listen.
I feel my brain stopping in frustration, watching his brain stop in mid frustration here. Believe me, man, the wheels stop turning for a lot of us up here.
Crowning Life Gear as the last part of the stage. Now that they've added Crowning Life Gear at this stage, Crown Stones are all you need. Smile, winky face, smile, winky face. That's our progression. That's it. Crown Stone is king first thing.
Not wrong. But the thing is Cronstone's always been king. Cronstone was king as soon as we went into boss armor grade era into pen. That's when that started. And it's just been going harder and harder and harder ever since.
The game before Cronstones is the most fun part of the game.
1000%. Because the progression was so much more self-earned. It was so much more self-achieving. It was a way better hit of dopamine.
The fun part of the game was like getting your plus 15 green weapon and all that. Because then when you figured out you needed false gear, it was like, oh, these are memory fragments. So these are like they're getting rid of that.
Yeah, not to mention all the routes that we have to take encourage the use of Cronstone only. Like, look at the Fallen God armors. There's no way you would be raw tapping all the way to try, let alone going all the way to Tet. That's just crazy. You wouldn't do that. Such an amount of profit. And look at the price point value that you have on the marketplace as well. Every bit about it encourages you to use Cronstone only.
You go right into the hard part of the game. You go right into in-gate now.
He also didn't mention the free pen armor that you get from the Magnus, the discounted pens you can get through Jatina, the discounted pen accessories that you can get through Jatina. And I don't think there's a problem in that stuff. I don't think there's a problem in that stuff because there's enough ahead of you that you need to work on that is somewhat warranted. But the Pen Black Star is like the most absurd piece of freebies with the current existing content from the date of this video.
You're here. Hope you can hit the 5% or spend $10,000.
Well, not to mention, they also want a quick transaction, inventory, wait, because the most profitable customers are the new players.
So, fellow servants of the Cronstone, how do you feel about this? I am absolutely elated, if you can't tell.
You want to know how I feel, man? I'm fucking bored in a game that I used to love so much and still do love, but the love is more of just trying to give myself more and more purpose for it. And that's why I've had no problem blowing up my account time and time again to give myself more to do. And I don't care about being at the hard wall when they're capping so much. I don't care anymore. The most fun is almost starting over and making challenge accounts at this point. The free-to-play aspect route, it's even more powerful than ever since you can already go in and get a free pen Black Star. I'd love to have a sense of purpose with the content that comes out. Content that's more heartfelt gives us more sense of purpose to work on these things.
As a matter of fact, I think we're gonna go make sure our thing looks exactly the same color as the Cronstone here. Cronstone blue.
Cron Vision, no longer Vessel Vision.
It's actually so blue, and I wrote in blue ink. It was the dumbest thing I could have done.
Chronoflage.
What do we need to do? So right now, we have a way around this.
Vessel, I swear to God, if you say rollback.
Everyone is blowing their money on all the hammers in the game. But that is only a thing until November 27th.
Yep.
As you can see right here. And by hammers, I mean the J hammers that they gave out for accessories. So everyone's saving money. They're buying Tech Debos, and they're buying these J hammers of precision. And the hammer of precision, there's like so many of them, people can't even sell them.
Obsessive speculation.
It's kind of ironic. It's almost like they listed a bunch so no one could make money off of it.
Yeah, and what's going to happen when all of these don't sell eventually? Everyone's just going to use them on pointless stuff because they couldn't get a chance for these to go through. It's going to be chaos come November if this is in the current state that it's still in the state that it's in.
They want you to tap with it, and they want people to buy them. I don't know. It's very weird. It's very weird, the scenario. They all disappear on November 27th.
Yep.
What is going to be the backlash of this? Once the hammers disappear, the value of tapping without a hammer versus with is literally just not there. November 27th is fast coming, and the meta is just going to get worse.
It's not fast coming, though. There's nothing to do. There's not much new stuff for us to do other than look forward to, I guess, early August, when Korea gets Land of the Morning Light Part 2 first. Oh, hell yeah. Then I got 2 months of watch parties to watch over the Korean streamers that aren't on Twitch anymore.
Right now, we're basically grinding never-ending circles. And we have been since Black Desert Online, but we have fewer choices. So it's like very
Narrow-minded.
forced.
Yep. You're being force-fed Jay's big hammer. And let me tell you, this thing doesn't fit. This don't fit no matter where I put it. It's almost like this. Let's draw an umbrella. Okay, this umbrella is fun to be had. And the rain is all of our problems. The width of the umbrella, though, are things to do. And this determines the amount of fun that we have under this umbrella, avoiding all of the problems. Because there are no problems when you're having so much fun. But now, the double grind has given us a very, very, very narrow umbrella. And you'll notice that the amount of things we have to do really determines the amount of fun that we have. And for some reason, now all I'm doing is just getting soaking fucking wet with all these problems. It's quite simple, you see.
I think that the game seems bland. It's boring. At least the circular PvE gear part.
So many people feel this way. I would feel so confident to say almost everybody. There's a small percentage of people that didn't mind having to work on this type of stuff. To the vast majority, you're not the only one that feels this way, man. We all do. You really think the developers are sitting through working on items like this, actually feeling what the game feels like? No, dude, they're not going to go that deep into the rabbit hole that they've already dug.
PvP players, we feel like console now. We can scream as much as we want. Ah! And they're like, that's great. We're going to smile and...
Bro, it's always been like that. Console's just a different beast. It has always been like that. Just the PR statement of, we hear what you're saying, we appreciate your feedback, we love you, here's a couple codes, fail a few more clicks, and feel good for a couple more weeks until you're sick of this shit again. By the way, vroom vroom, I'm out of here with my Bugatti.
You know, like, so if all the big communities, PvP communities are dying, and that's the part of the game that seems fun, then there's just not enough incentive to play the game anymore.
Yep. The eye-opening thing is that you're not the target for the profit in that margin. New players spend probably way more than us, and mid-game players probably spend way more than us, because there's a lot of veteran players now that just don't spend any more money on much because they've already spent that money to have that set up with what they already have. They always get so much more priority and focus because they're just a bigger profit margin. But I feel like the events and the way that they release content and also continue to make it more, create that avenue for new players to kind of just come way up ahead. Yeah, absolutely. So me personally, it's always going to have that target. My problem is that they don't raise that bar, because you want those veterans telling those new players that you have things to look forward to. And, you know, as of late, the discussion has been, it'll be fun for now, but eventually it serves no purpose.
Because at the end of the day, it's going to be not nearly as much fun playing the game anymore. So they'll have way less players. They need to do something immediately.
Because right now it's PA first, player second.
There's no node wars. Unironically, this is the perfect time to shoot this video. This is NA.
Yeah.
We know AU's dead too. So maybe I'm just entirely base. Maybe it's just a brutal reality check for me.
I think it's a brutal slap in the face to the player base that has given this game the lifetime that it has honestly had. And now it's falling into this pit of despair. The ultimate thing is that you want to see these things with purpose, or these daunting goals have a reason of fun behind it, or a better reason to do. Content that allows you to step into, things that make you feel that sense of achievement for hitting that, other than just watching it go ding and seeing a few sparkles and some fucking glitter on my screen. Everyone just wants this game to improve. Everyone just wants this to be a better place to be. Sadly, I feel like we are taking big steps away from the fun that you should be having in this game, and a game that looks this good deserves to be talked about in that type of way. Not right now, because this current condition is a fucking joke.